This is a model that's not available for download, but I do just want to step you through it. This is a real-life production part that's being made. It's a medical component. I just want to show you what goes on in some real surfacing projects. The first thing is that I was given a model, and what I had to make changes to this model. You can't do any direct edit sort of things with it. The only thing that you can do here is delete faces and recreate features. So I had to incorporate some information from another part. Then I went through and just deleted a bunch of faces that I was going to need to recreate. Plus, I split the part in half and got rid of the half that I wasn't going to work on. Plus, I wanted to get a reference that you would have had from say, a sweep or something for this center tube. So I used a silhouette edge to kind of use as a reference. And I converted that silhouette edge to a 3D sketch to allow me to manipulate it a little bit and use it. Okay, and then I split a face in here just so I could use the delete face function to get rid of the portion that I didn't want. So there I deleted a bunch of faces that were, in reality, they were just causing me problems. These were all imported, and some of the faces I had to extend or make bigger. Using the extend function created geometry that was difficult to use. From there, I trimmed out this surface so that I had a consistent path that I could use from the top of the part down to the bottom. Otherwise, I was going to have to make this in patches. And I've referenced this before. There's some people who talk about making parts in patches as if that's a good thing, but you see what you wind up with when you make a part that's all in patches. When I have to work with data like this, it's just not very nice. Then I used a surface fill. There was a hole in this particular surface, and for some reason I couldn't use the untrimmed surface or the delete hole function. And so I just patched it over with a surface fill. And you can see, because of the tangent edges or the phantom edges there, that it's tangent all the way around, and it looks pretty good. I did use an untrim here because there was a face that I had make whole again. Here's an untrim that works really well. It's this notch out of this face. I just want to make it whole. And so set this back to 0, do it like that. And what this does is it just replaces that section of the face with the underlying NURBS data, which is, exactly what I needed it to do. It cleaned that up very nicely. And then I use a surface extend. I really don't like to use these because the surface extend, if we have a look at this, what I'm trying to do here is set up some surfaces so they can all be trimmed against one another. And often what happens is, do you use the same surface or do you use a linear? I like to try to use the same surface because that'll extend a face without adding edges. If you use linear, it's always going to add edges. And then you have several end conditions. You can use a distance or an up to point or something like that. So here's a split for trim that I used. And what did I trim with? I used the 3D sketch. I had this 3D sketch. Let's show the surface that it's on. You can see that the extended surface that I used just created some really bad geometry. We got an overlap down here, we got a gap down here, and it's just not it's just not kosher. Up here, there's a non-tangency. There's some more ugliness in the back. So I use this 3D sketch to split out part of this face that I want to get rid of, and then I use the delete face to get rid of that. Coming back to this area, I used a surface fill. This one has an interesting aspect to it, is that it's a surface fill that doesn't have a closed loop. So if you use the fix-up boundary, then SOLIDWORKS will allow you to have a gap in your selection. And it usually uses some sort of bulge like this just to make sure that it's getting the area that you want it to get. I like to turn on the curvature display and crank up the mesh preview when I'm doing this, just so that I can see what's going on with this sort of feature. Merge result is a great function. Usually merge is a word that SOLIDWORKS uses when you're talking about joining two solids together, but in this case it's you're joining surfaces together, so it's really a knit result should be the word used here. Create solid would be an option that you're using if this fill surface enclosed a solid volume. Optimize surface, in this case I don't think it does anything, but usually what it does when it works is that if you have a four-sided fill surface boundary, it's going to line up the U and V with the boundary of that fill surface. So it'll work more like a boundary surface than a fill surface. We just go ahead with this one as it is. And you notice a couple of things. Down here, really didn't get a good tangent connection. Which doesn't matter because we're going to trim that out. Up here it did. And, okay, so this model is very difficult to work with because you got a lot of different areas of it. And when I originally worked with it, I had all of these faces and bodies in different colors to help me identify. Because if you go up here and you look at this from a surface body's point of view, I've got the main body, that's the main body, and then this other part. And I was working with this in a different color. But at the end of my modeling, I removed all of the colors from the different bodies just to keep it from being cacophonous. Okay, so I've still got some separate surface bodies in here that I need to work with later on, but they're just hidden right now. And these are not, I'm not using colors to identify them right now. Okay, so let's go down and work through some more here. Surface extend, again, this is the kind of, these features have this tendency to get you into trouble. Some of these trims that I needed to make, the old model had fillets in here, and so you have to delete out the fillets and then try to extend the existing surface so it intersects this other surface, and you can create a trim. In some cases I got away with the extend, and in some I didn't. Okay, so these two surfaces are the main features in the part. These are both created from a sketch that's meant to drive multiple things, and then I just use the selection manager to select just a portion of the sketch. So you see that this sketch has the main outer contour, but then it also has a circle in the center. Circle is used for something else later on. The flare feature is this down here. I could not make everything that I wanted to make all in a single feature. So this is one of the cases where it's kind of the same shape, and I really could have made it all in a single feature. I just couldn't get the shape I wanted. I needed to have more absolute control over the two areas I didn't want the teeter-totter to happen here, where if this goes up, this goes down. This flare was created from the edge of the prior feature plus a 3D sketch that had to be completely on the far side of the red surface. Okay, so that 3D sketch was kind of crazy to work with, but just because of the constraints on the model, that was the shape it wound up being. All right, now these fill surfaces really wind up saving my life whenever I use them. Here's a nice example of a fill surface. I mean, how else are you going to make? You're going to try to make something like that with a boundary, maybe, but it really works out great as a fill surface. And notice you get the tangent edge display all the way around. Now here's another extend, and let's take a look at what it's doing. So I had to extend the top of this feature up past the red and the top of this surface back past the red on the other side, just so I could get a good trim. And then, because that didn't work, this is a bit of sloppy modeling actually, but it enabled me to make a fill surface very easily by extending the surface on top. That's this one. It made bad geometry, but it gave me edges that I could use to create a fill surface, and then I deleted the faces that were extended, so I'm left with only the fill surface. That's a bit of ugly modeling, but in this case it works, and I just used a knit to knit it back together. Let's see what this side face is all about. This was a face that was deleted, but I built it back using a boundary surface. One of the nice things about the boundary surface is that you can grab these connectors on the end and you can pull it back to limit it if that's what you need to do. For some reason, I needed to reuse a copy of this surface later on. So this is a technique I call a memory surface. This surface gets consumed in another feature, but then I make a copy of it that I need for another feature later. And then there's a number of trims that are going to trim away at this red surface. You can see that between this red surface and the gray surface coming this way and the gray surface going that way, that there's a lot of little bits and pieces, some of which are internal, that you have to keep track of. And this is very difficult if you're going to try to do it all in a single trim feature. So sometimes the trimming has to be done in multiple features just for visualization's sake. And then there's a series of trims. Now, if we look at these are all standard trims. So it's one surface that trims another. As you can see here, we have a single trim tool and a single area that's going to be removed. And that's because of the complexity of this area of the model where you've got inside and outside parts and multiple regions and everything. So I broke it down into multiple features, each doing something that I could understand. Plus, if you do this all in a single feature, then the whole thing is more likely to fail later on because there's just too much going on in the feature at one time. All right, then I knit it together just to try to, I'm working toward making this whole thing a single body. And now I've got to do another part of the model, which is a tube that has to go down through the whole thing. And there's some specific requirements about where it comes out down here, how it intersects this collar, and also how it exits down here because it had to have a certain angle. So this was all created with a 3D curve or 3D sketch. We got a spline in here, and the spline has a curvature in this direction in this area, but then it's got to take a twist down at the bottom and come out in a straight line. I had done something stupid, and there was a section of the model where I had just made the spline itself coincident to a point that was external. Now let's take a look at where that was. Yeah. Okay, it was right here. So I had originally just created a relationship between the spline and the center point of that arc. Now, that caused a lot of problems when I went to try to edit the rest of the spline, because SolidWorks just didn't want to solve that nicely. So what I did instead was I made that point part of the spline, removed the external relationship, and then I was able to control the curvature down here a little more directly. And actually, I'm watching the curvature comb and the direction that the curvature comb is turning. You can see the orange in here is the curvature comb, and you have to look at it from the side to see the curvature here, but then you have to look at it from the top to see the curvature here where it takes the turn to the side. So this was kind of a complex turn of events in this area, and once I got it figured out that I had created an improper relationship here, that it all worked out a lot better. The tube needed to have a bigger end down here, and then now if I can hide the main body, we can see what's going on with the tube. I took the tube and did an offset, made a planar surface, and then did a trim. So it's got kind of a counterboard section that goes through here. And then I needed to flare this. The requirements on this model get away very much from mechanical type requirements. And these are all, everything that's going on here, these parts are all soft and bendy. And the way they're assembled requires, you're not working with rigid parts at all. So I had to have an enlarged area on this lead-in, and so I used a silhouette split line to split this counterbore type face. Then I lofted the replacement part for it. I deleted the interior part, and then I knit that all back together. And I had to do this edit after the rest of the model had been finished. So that's a little bit why I'm dancing around here, because it was kind of a delicate operation. I didn't want to make everything else go south. Then I took that and trimmed it in so that it didn't start running into the rest of the model. And then I trimmed it into the rest of the model. And then from there, I had to put some fillets on this. Part of the reason why I had to rebuild all of this was because the fillets were not working. These faces were invalid from having been extended and then trimmed and all of that. So that's why all of these faces had to be rebuilt using other methods. And then finally, I mirror the part and knit it together. So that's a lot of surface manipulation in here. We got into a little more than what's strictly available in this chapter, but it's a lot of information. Things aren't necessarily always clean in a real-world modeling situation.